That's it. This is what my computer algorithms tell me. Okay.
What does this mean?
It means probable deception indicated, meaning that there's indications that you've not been truthful with us. Okay.
This is David Haggard, and he just failed a polygraph test while being a suspect in the disappearance of his half-sister, Jaime Haggard.
You know, if you're caught in a lie, you're caught in a lie. You can't backtrack from that way of lie. They're gonna suspect you.
They suspect me already. My dad does.
Well,
So
I don't know the dynamics there in that family. Sounds like you got some issues.
Even though both detectives and his family suspected David, he kept giving different stories to deny any involvement.
I haven't done anything to my sister. I don't know where she's at. If I did, I would tell you. Bottom line. Bottom line. My life is pretty f***ed up, and that's why I didn't want to take this test to begin with. But other than that, I wouldn't hurt my sister. I'm not even going to go through this, man. I have nothing to do with my sister. Nothing to do with her disappearing whatsoever, man. I love her to death.
However, detectives would soon find out if David was a pathological liar or a smart suspect who could be nearly impossible to catch. Jaime Haggard, a 27-year-old mother of twins, disappeared on June 9th, 2016. It had been a month, and there was no new information on her whereabouts. And it was becoming quite grim with the realization that the missing case might just turn into something more sinister. To find answers, Jamie's half-brother and the person you just saw in the clip, 48-year-old David Haggard, was brought in for a polygraph test, and it didn't go well. But that's not all. Behind that fake demeanor actually lies a pathological liar and a disgusting individual.
You haven't conclusively passed your test. That's a concern to us.
That was a concern of mine to begin with, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and why was it such a big concern to you?
So I told you I already felt guilty. I carry the guilt. It's dreaming that I'm guilty, whatever happened to her is my fault and whatnot. So, you know.
Okay. Well, these questions, that's specifically why I didn't ask you, are you responsible for her disappearance? Because you told me that you felt responsible for it. I didn't go that route, okay?
Yeah, but you also said that this
I asked very specific questions. Do you know where she's currently located? Have you lied to the police regarding her disappearance?
Right.
Well, that's not what your body's telling us. Your body's telling us something completely different, okay? And so what we have to do is rely on what we're seeing here, what your body's providing to us. The mouth can say one thing, the body tells the truth, and that's the way that I look at this.
Right.
So I feel very comfortably that there's more to the story. There's something that you're concerned about that you're not disclosing at this point.
What were you doing burning all this stuff out in your yard for the last couple of weeks?
We've been burning freaking
I mean, I'm not accusing you. Just tell me what it was. What were you burning?
the mulch and shit. There's all kinds of shit around the property. We've been burning trash, all kinds of crap. There's all kinds of crap in that house. We've been trying to, me and Carly have been trying to get our leg up. So we're just trying to, I mean, Jason, we thought we were going to be gone. We thought Jason was going to be gone for a minute. So we were going to freaking try to get in with the owner. That was it.
Yeah. And what was reburied in the hole? Anything? Garbage? Anything?
There's garbage. There's all kinds of shit. There's that whole property can be buried. There's axles. There's all kinds of shit in the property. He had that stupid ass pump. I mean, not pump, but a pond that he's going to put in. It was dumb.
Yeah.
You know? Nobody wants a fucking pond. And it didn't just get buried or covered up in one night. It's fucking over a duration of time.
Okay.
A bunch of garbage burns in that hole. I mean, it's a bunch of wood. Yeah.
When detectives checked the house where David and Jamie used to live, they found numerous holes in the yard, out of which some were filled up again. So the police started having this suspicion that Jamie, who was supposedly missing, might actually be a victim of murder.
What's the crime of disposing of a woman that ODs?
I have no idea.
It's fucking gross misdemeanors.
I have no idea, sir.
So I'm telling you that because I don't want you or anybody else overly freaked out about an OD death and guys panicked and got rid of the body. Because it's a fucking gross misdemeanor at worst, if anybody even gets charged. So I just want to make sure that's clear. We're not investigating some felony crime if in fact she just died through her lifestyle. OD, she's got a history of that clearly.
You guys keep saying she's dead. You guys know something that I don't know? Like, I don't even know that she's dead.
Well, we do know a lot of things about her behaviors, issues that lead us to believe that she's no longer with us. I hope the hell she calls her mother right now. Says, Mom, I have been out. I've been in rehab. Of course, that's not true either, because she's well past the blackout periods of being rehab. So in my gut, I believe that she's dead, either by someone else's hand or she's OD. And now it's a recovery. In fact, that's why we're all out at your house today. You know, we're not convinced she's out there. We're sure as hell are going to check it. We're going to be checking it with heavy equipment. We're going to be doing it with the cadaver dogs. We're going to be covering that base today, 100%.
The detective has calmly laid it all out in front of David. But David is not about to break so easily. He's extremely confident even after failing the polygraph test, so it's quite obvious that some simple warnings won't affect him much. But the question is, for how long? And the even bigger question is if he's really behind the disappearance, or is he behind a murder?
If you're not being honest with us right now, you're putting yourself in a hole, because I'm afraid later on you're going to have to backtrack and kind of say, well, okay, this is really the truth a month or two or a week or a year from now, and it's going to be unbelievable. You know, if you're caught in a lie, you're caught in a lie. You can't backtrack from that later on.
I came home. When I got home, there was a fire outside the Snyder glass door. It was put out. It wasn't totally put out. It was a smoke cone. I seen it. That raised suspicion to me. I didn't know what that was about. I've been thinking about that ever since this investigation started taking off. What it was about. Other than that, I don't know anything else.
Why is that relevant? Why do you think that's relevant?
Because it was just you guys keep asking about that backyard and about why we buried what we buried and burned there. You know, it's just weird. I don't know.
You know something. You didn't pass your polygraph that every one of us in this room should have passed if we truly didn't know. It doesn't matter that you're related to her. It doesn't matter that you're guilty about her lifestyle. Those questions were so specific. And that's why I love polygraph tests regarding cases like this, is because they're nothing but specific. Jason wants to ask me in a pre-employment polygraph whether I stole something when I was a kid. I don't really care if he asks me that, because I don't think that's going to be accurate and valid, in my opinion. But when he asked me, did I dispose of Jamie's body, I'm going to say no, and I'm going to pass that test.
No, he didn't want to take the polygraph test the first time I came here because it was under meth. I mean, it's all kinds of dynamics in there. I'm telling you right now, I don't know where my sister is. If I did, I would tell you. I would tell you. If she OD'd in front of me, I would tell you. I don't know. I don't know.
Unfortunately, they get no answers. One might think at this point, David might be the criminal. Well, for starters, let's focus on that polygraph test and unveil the first big clue. Before David gave the polygraph test, he texted one of his friends. David said that he would die out of fear of giving the polygraph test. And when his friend responded, "You would be fine as you don't have anything to do with Jamie missing," David replied with, "I'm not going to pass the test." Now, why was he so sure about failing? Did it really have to do with him being under the influence of meth, or was he just a very good liar?
Did you get into a fight with her on the last time you saw her?
The day before we were fighting.
Did it turn physical?
No, not any more than no.
Well, what does that mean?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it was physical at first, but I mean, I was just getting to the truth of the matter. I mean, I was just on top of her, but it was nothing. There was no violence or anything. The cops came there.
I know that.
And the cops checked her out, and I was cleared. I didn't do anything to her.
24 hours later, though.
24 hours later, she wasn't at home.
Right.
She was gone all night.
I guess we'll find that out when we get the phone records today.
Yeah, well, you will. You'll find that out. She was gone all night. She didn't come in until the next morning.
So a couple things are obviously going to be dealt with. And here's, I'll just tell you our job. When I see your phone records and when I see her phone records, I suspect that I'm going to see some travel together. I think there's a good chance of that. I think it's going to prove that you're not telling the truth right by yourself, and then we're going to have to do this all over again. I'm a little late to this case to know why the ain't in your truck and completely cleaning your truck out. So when we have the Washington State Crime Lab out searching your truck in about an hour, believe me, I've had cases where people have hosed their truck out, scrubbed with, God, they've used stone masonry cleaner in their truck, and this crime lab still found blood. Because guys don't get where they should really clean. So all these things are happening today because we can't figure out what to do with you. So prove them right or prove them wrong. That's our job, isn't it? That's what you pay us for. And by God, we're going to do it on this case. I don't care what her lifestyle is like. Nobody has a right to be disposed of improperly or killed in a fight and then dumped up in Eastern Monroe or wherever the she's at.
Essentially, there have been a few things that made the police suspect David. First of all is the polygraph test. Secondly, the messages with his friend. And finally, his truck that he cleaned after the disappearance.
I'm not a lawyer. Or charge me with something. I haven't done anything wrong. You can look at my phone records. You can check my truck.
Is it going to clear you?
Yeah.
We're doing that too, Dave. Don't forget. Our job is to clear people. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're certainly not going to wrangle into somebody in a crime.
Whatever.
Where are you, a witness or a suspect?
Suspect in your eyes.
Well, you're something in our eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know you're not under arrest, right?
I haven't done anything to my sister.
Do you understand you're not under arrest?
I'm a lawyer.
Okay. Well, let's get out of here then. I hope you're right, Dave. I wasn't there.
It can be seen that David constantly asks for a lawyer, but the detectives know that if he gets a lawyer at this point, the truth would be shrouded in mystery. Even though they must abide by the rules, they decide to approach him again in a friendly way, trying to make him feel that they're on his team. And soon, the investigation shifts towards uncovering new names, Scott and Natasha, two more of their friends who became part of the conversation.
What's the story about rolling her sister up or something? You said that.
Well, yeah, that was when he first started coming back around. You know, like he said he was arrested. You know, we checked that not to be true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like just weird shit. Like he started coming around like the day before Jason got out, and then talked. You know, I mean,
James already gone, right?
Yeah, James been gone, and he starts talking like he says that he'd been in contact. That she called him, which we don't think is true. You know, we're like, you know, why would she call him? And it just doesn't seem. It doesn't add up. But I know Jamie was definitely afraid of him when he came in and got his cut, and he kept asking for his cut, and he kept asking for his boots.
Cut of cash or cut of
his leather, his biker. Yeah. He had his cut there. He needed his cut.
David literally admits that he believes Scott might be involved in his sister's disappearance, but he never confronted him about it. This raises a lot of suspicion. Why would David, who claims to be a caring brother, not try to uncover the full truth by directly confronting Scott?
I suspect foul play, I'd go with Scott. I don't know anything else. Okay. No, I told you the story about Scott.
Well,
Scott needs to be checked.
You're suspicious of Scott.
Yeah,
Is
really.
there a particular reason?
Because he's like admitted that he's done something to her.
Tell me that story again. Now that driving in the backseat of my car is a little difficult.
He said when Jason came home out of jail, he was with Scott. Scott picked him up. They went and did some brown together. Natasha is a girl that just got out of feds. She's in an Oxford house or something in Seattle, I guess. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in Seattle. They had picked her up too, I guess. Jason says that it was him, Natasha, and Scott in his truck. And Jason said, what the f*** is going on at my house? Does Jason come home? He's like tripping out, like, you know, what's all this stuff? You know, Jamie's missing supposedly. What's going on? Mm-hmm. Scott says, shut up, dude. You're going to get me in trouble. Don't worry about it. She's not at your house. She's been taken care of.
He says this specifically
to Jason and Natasha.
And Jason told you about that.
Yes. And he brought it up again yesterday.
And what was yesterday?
Yesterday he just said, dude, I think Scott did something with your sister, man.
Jason said that.
Yeah. Because honestly, I don't think you've done anything, Dave. I think I think Scott's done something with your sister, though. I know you're trying to be positive and optimistic, but I'm telling you, man, I think Scott done something with your sister.
Have you spoken to Scott yourself face to face?
Not about it, no.
Now the story has become much more complicated as David brings in another person to the story. However, the authenticity of his claims are as fragile as his personality. Jason, who could have been a suspect but was behind bars, and now Scott.
Jason and Jamie were in a fight, an argument. Jason was like, I can't handle this dog, she's got to go. And I'm saying, well, I get her out, and Scott's saying, I think it's only right that the, family member takes care of it, or I'll take care of it. And just these things, if I reflect back on our conversation, doesn't mean much at the time, because we're just, everybody's hyped, amped up. Mm-hmm. But I think about it then, like, what the hell were you talking about, dude? Like, the whole time the guy was talking about, getting rid of her. And Jason says, he swears to God that he has a hatred towards women.
At this moment, David is directly pointing fingers at Scott and Jason. He, in his own way, is telling the detectives that they were behind this whole act. Now, this is a moment when the detectives get confused. They've been suspecting David throughout, but a suspect pointing fingers directly at someone else by their name is rather perplexing. Because if the person David named is cleared from the case, David will automatically become the one and only prime suspect, and he will have dug his own hole.
That night, he came over that night, got $60 from me, and supposedly got arrested.
That night meaning what?
The night that Jamie was no longer around.
Eighth,
disappeared. The 9th or whatever, yeah. The day Jason went to jail. The same day Jason went to jail, he supposedly went to jail.
According to himself.
For domestic violence, yeah. Against his ex.
He was a brothel?
Redmond, I guess.
I'm sorry. Does he have a wife and a boy? I saw some pictures on Facebook.
Yeah, he has a son and his ex-wife.
Was he sleeping with Jamie at any point?
Not that we know of.
Who's been sleeping with Jamie?
Don't know.
Hate to ask the question, but I gotta ask the question.
Don't know. Supposedly she wasn't even sleeping with Jason.
Have they been dating?
Yeah, supposedly they've been dating and she hadn't been giving a reaction or whatever. That was one of the things we fought about that day, that the cops all came. Yeah, I suppose we had her tied up and shit because she was claiming that Jason came in, that Jason took it from her that night. She was just, I couldn't believe half the words that she would say. So I didn't take it, all I know is that Jason was playing games and Jamie, all this brown, it all tends to brown, what I take chalk it up as. These guys are they don't care about anything but themselves, and it's all just this brown, bullshit. Jason said he was going to quit work and he was going to come home, we're going to deal with this. Because I was telling my girlfriend, he's fucking playing games, babe. I don't know who to believe. Jamie, I tend to believe my sister because in the heat of the moment, when I fucking look her in the eye and I fucking grill her, tell me what's going on here, James. I can trust and believe that my sister's telling me the truth. She points to him. Jason, it's all Jason. Mm-hmm. So that's, and I confronted Jason and he was going to come home and deal with it. But then Jamie flipped the whole script around. Instead of me being pissed off at Jason and was going to deal with Jason, she claims that she's going to take a bunch of pills. And that's when the whole picture came out. I had her in the.
And then Jason's popped the night of the 9th, or the day of the 9th.
The interview goes on for some time, but the detectives find no confession or any new information regarding the disappearance of Jamie. So unfortunately, they have to keep their patience and focus on finding new evidence.
What I hope to do is, when we get your phone records and we'll do our business with the records that we need to do, there'll come a time when I'm probably going to want to sit back down with you and go over the phone records with you, no matter how they look, whether they're damning looking or just typical phone records a guy would have when he's in his house. So I don't want us to end here as fucking enemies. It's your sister. We're going to work for you, is the way I look at it, until we determine that we're going against some person who killed her. Or if she died on her own, so be it. But until that's proven, we're all in the same boat. But if you put yourself in our position, you see exactly what we have to do. We have to clear the people around her from suspicion. And you're, unfortunately, very difficult to clear. Some people are easy. We've already cleared a few people just based on what they were in gym. I mean, like him or not, Nolte's easy to clear, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a done deal. Even though he looks like a suspect, though, you know, and I don't know for a lot of other reasons.
Yeah, no, you tried to say the parole officer says he's a suspect, but I just don't see.
Well, it's the physics.
But I mean, it's just, you know, like Jason keeps saying, it's almost like Scott thinks like he wanted him to do something, or I wanted him to do something.
Well, would
It's almost scary.
Would Scott have taken it on his own to be like, hey, dude, I took care of your problem
He
for you?
fucking might as well have, or might have, you know, I mean, that's what fucking Jason was, now I'm thinking about our conversation which me and Jason had yesterday, and he's convinced that fucking Scott did something with her. I'm trying to be more of the positive, you know, the will positive, you know, and my sister's gonna call her mom up any minute, you know. I want her to be gone, be hurt.
I do too, but we all hope that she doesn't, but we got to be realistic, and it's time to be realistic on this thing. It's been well over a month, and young women...
But David keeps on trying to put the blame on Scott, and he seems quite confident about it.
Did you do something with my sister?
No.
Do you feel comfortable doing that?
I fucking,
If I put you on a wire, would you
I mean, no offense, I'm gonna fucking jam him up when I see him.
Well, if I put a wire on you and put you two together in a fucking restaurant or a bar...
Yeah. I'm not gonna be jamming him up. Fuck yeah, I will.
You're willing to go to that sort of...
Oh, yeah.
Find out where your sister...
Hey. Oh, hey. You know, and then Jason keeps saying that Scott keeps asking him, let's go fishing. And Jason doesn't understand why he keeps asking him that, because Jason doesn't fucking fish.
Where does Scott fish?
You don't know, but he made references to taking somebody down the river road. He hasn't gone down the river road in a long time or some shit, you know? And just, how stupid.
By River Road, do you think he's talking about Snohomish River Road, or...?
I have no idea. He says, I haven't gone down the river road in a long time. I don't know. Half the shit I heard this guy say I thought was full shit. And now I'm thinking that I've probably been stupid the whole fucking time.
Your sister sell Scott pills, you know?
They did brown together, I don't know if they...
It's quite obvious that the detectives will reach out to Scott to find answers. However, they just can't let their suspicions on David go away.
She either OD'd somewhere, most likely the house, somebody freaked out and tried to get rid of her, or somebody probably beat the fuck out of her and killed her. I doubt she was stabbed or shot. I'm going to guess that she was probably thumped, pummeled to death, massive head wound. And then obviously somebody had to get rid of her. Whether that happened to your house or not, I don't know. But the crime lab's going to figure that one out.
Yeah.
In the end, David, you're not passing the polygraph. The simplest polygraph we could design for a man like you in your position. One that you absolutely should pass if you... Just can you read those specific questions?
Poly, I don't care, but I don't want a lawyer. I don't want to talk about poly anymore.
Okay, well,
I don't care about that.
if you want to be done here, we can be
Yeah, I
done.
don't want to be done. I'll help you talk to Scott.
Okay, because we still need to team up on this. We're going to find your sister.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to be enemies with you.
Yeah. Well, I'm not the guy.
But you got to know where I'm
I'm not
thinking.
the
You got to know all the thoughts in my head. You
Yeah,
got to
I'm
know
not the
every
guy.
step that I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You got to know every scenario that we're going to consider and rule in or rule out. And this is uncomfortable as fuck for you, I'm sure. You don't have to like us or whatever, but we're going to do it together. And the step of the polygraph was so important to us that that's why we kept wanting to do it with you. So let me end this with kind of a overall reaching statement. David, is there anything that you haven't told us yet that you think is significant in this case, that
Not
you
that
know
I can
damn well is significant,
Not that I
that you've
can-
chosen to keep to yourself?
Not that I can think of. No, except for where's Scott and where's Chris?
The interview concluded with no apparent answers, and David was set free. The detectives now had a few names in their file, and they reached out to each of them. But all of them had an alibi and cleared out. Jason told the police that David had dug a huge hole in his campus, and he was suspicious he might have buried Jaime there. So the police went back to David's house and dug down each and every hole, but unfortunately, they found nothing. The police then took David's phone, truck, and his Xbox as pieces of evidence. Later, police discovered that David's statement that Jaime was scared of Jason was false. In contradiction, it was Jaime who was scared of David. The police came to know about this when they spoke with Jason. He said that Jaime kept on telling him that she's afraid of being killed by David. Also, David's earlier roommate told the police that David was getting frustrated with Jaime. David said that she was causing too much trouble and he should just kill her. Later, an uncanny turn came about in the story when the police heard the news of a psychic named Nicole. She had been telling the police that Jaime's spirit had been paying her visits and had told her that she wants her body to be found. It probably looked like a hoax to the police, but as they had no other information, they noted down Nicole's statements. According to her, Jaime's body was hidden somewhere over a ravine near a river next to 2 trees. But unfortunately, it really did turn out to be a hoax. But in May 2018, a roadside cleaning crew discovered a suitcase lying off the shoulder of State Route 522 in Snohomish County. When they checked the suitcase, they found partially burnt and dismembered remains of a person. The remains were then checked by a forensic team, and they confirmed that it was Jaime Haggard. The case finally turned into a cold-blooded murder story. Now, the cell phone records from around the area had also come through, and when the police checked them, they finally found the damning evidence to put an end to the case. But no matter the extent of his lies, David was finally arrested in October 2019. He was found guilty of second-degree murder and was sentenced to 15 years in prison.
You might not think that this is fair, but it's not fair for Maddie and Dilly either. They miss their mom. They don't even remember the things I remember. It's not fair that my kids don't get to grow up with their Aunt Jamie or their Uncle Davey. It's not fair. These choices tore our whole family apart.
Now for the reason for the murder. It was speculated that just the night before the disappearance, Jaime and David got into a big fight regarding their staying arrangements. Jaime apparently wanted David to move out of the house, which enraged David, and things escalated, leading to this horrific and disturbing murder. 15 years seemed a lot less considering David killed his sister, dismembered her, burned her, put her remains in a suitcase, and threw it away. However, they lacked concrete evidence to prove that it was all done by David. Although it seems quite obvious to us that he was behind the whole act, first-hand evidence is needed in the court. So, unfortunate as it seems, David Haggard received a punishment that was much less than he actually deserved.
911, what's the location of your emergency? Hey, my boyfriend's unresponsive. He has some poke wounds inside of himself, and I put him in a shower to revive him. He's not revivable. Please help me. Please.
Tell me the address.
What do I do?
Help you.
No, I need my boyfriend.
It all started back in Kalispell, Montana on August 5th, 2018, when Lamb called 911.
Where is the blood coming from? Where is the blood coming from?
It's everywhere. I don't know. Please help. I don't know. He had some stab wounds. There's poke wounds on him. I don't know.
Did he shoot himself?
No, he was fighting with his... Oh my God, Ryan!
Hearing the screams and yells, the officers arrived at the address and found Lamb, who appeared devastated.
Please, I'm not trying to... I need to know my husband's okay, please. This is like my life. I know.
So the medics are in there. They're doing everything they can, okay? There's nothing that you can do by going in there.
Please.
Okay?
Please.
Nope, have a seat.
Oh my God.
Have a seat.
Is he okay?
Have a seat.
Is he okay?
Thank you. He didn't look very good to me. Okay?
No! Can I please have a cigarette?
I don't have a cigarette.
I know I have one right there in the front living room.
We can't get anything from in there
Can I
right
have
now.
a chew in my pocket then, please? I'm not gonna go anywhere, please. I just want to know about my husband. Like, it's my partner. I know, like,
I
you're
understand
straight,
that.
but, like, it's my partner. Please, I'm not gonna go anywhere. Please. Please.
So I need you to calm down, okay? Just take a big deep breath. I know you've been drinking.
Yes.
Okay?
I'm, like, super confused. I'm a little bit stoned. I'm sorry, like...
Lamb appeared distraught, but the officers found his behavior hard to trust. The apartment where Nixon lay dead was in disarray, and distinct poke marks covered Nixon's body, along with a deep stab wound at the back of his head. The superficial scene hinted at an attempted robbery gone wrong, or a planned murder committed by an intruder. The poke marks didn't appear to be from a traditional weapon, but instead from a fork, while the stab wound seemed consistent with a pair of scissors. But this raised a critical question. If an intruder had come to kill Nixon, why would they use household items instead of bringing their own weapon to commit the crime? With that question in mind, Lamb was brought in for an interrogation.
Has Ryan been in contact with David recently?
Yes.
How recently?
Within the last couple of days.
And what was that about?
I guess David had hacked, or got into one of his email accounts, or hacked one of his email accounts. And, Ryan had mentioned that some old ghosts from the past are coming up. Some people that, we had, some fidelity issues for him, a couple years ago.
Okay.
And how that was coming to limelight.
And I don't mean to pry into your personal life. We're just trying to figure out what happened. And why do you think it is, David?
Think of any information we can get about David and how we can find him right now?
From the very start, Lamb places the blame on Nixon's ex-fling, David Del Rosa. So, while the interrogation goes on, the officers proceed to investigate David's whereabouts. But in the midst of the conversation, the detectives notice some scars on Lamb's body.
Tell me more about the marks on your chest or in your stomach. Can you unbutton your shirt so I can see that? What's that from? It looks like a fork.
Yeah.
What's it from? Okay.
How old is that injury?
This is, yesterday morning, 11 morning before.
So Friday morning?
I worked for the close at 11. So, yeah, like Friday at like 9.
So, let me tell you a story, okay? Alright, and the reason that I'm going to share this with you is because over the course of the last 20 years that I've been doing this job, I've seen a fair amount of things, okay? Not too much shocks or surprises me, okay? A number of years ago, I went to a call. Some folks that typically would not call us because they didn't like the police very much. And the male half had a stab wound in the back of his on his back there. And when we were trying to sort things out, they both explained that during what they had heard was that if you inflict a little pain during the encounter, that it intensifies things. Okay?
So we like to put belts around each other's necks. Or, sometimes we'd better drill each other and then take video. Sometimes we would immobilize, completely restrain the other one. Then it's nothing to get woken up, having some rough sex. That's what we're into.
Sure.
Oh my god.
So the fork marks,
Oh my god.
tell me about that.
On the top and right at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I let them top me, and it has to be painful, or I'll freak out and stop.
Okay.
So the more pain that I get, the more it allows me to be a problem.
Okay. Did he want pain ever? Or?
Aside from a rough fucking, not a whole lot.
As the interrogation continues, the officers finally receive information on David. At the time of the incident, he was in a city called Libby, which is an hour away from Lamb's house. As a result, David is cleared of suspicion. With that, detectives were able to confront Lamb even more boldly, and in that intense confrontation, he will soon spill secrets that break the whole case wide open.
Somebody at one point told me that you had claimed you tried to resuscitate him.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that.
He started barfing a lot. And the blood was all over, cut out the back of his head. And I just pulled the scissors and I put the sponge and I wiped his chest and I held it on the. He had a wound on his chest and I held it over it and I was holding him. And he kept coughing and I was breathing into him and he said he was fine. And I ran over to Michael because it was the first thing I could think of. I'm sorry, it was the intoxicated, half stoned,
So if you were that out of it, how do you know you didn't do that?
I know.
It's a legitimate question.
I guess so. Because I love my husband so much, and I want him.
I don't doubt any of that, Ryan. I don't doubt any of the stuff that you're telling me, that you say you saw the blood, you had a cut on the back of his head, you pulled the scissors out, you put the sponge on there. I don't doubt any of that stuff.
Because I remember walking home, I remember seeing this stuff, I remember fucking talking to Ryan, panicking, and what do I do? So you go call for help. So do I call my mom? Just call your dad? I mean, he was fine. He was fine. He was barfing and he was fine. And I left the sponge with him. And I ran to Michael's. I put on that tiki shirt. I put on the shoes and I ran to Michael's. No.
Okay, so tell me why you had to put a shirt and your shoes on.
I was laying on the house, panicking. I didn't have shoes on, so I slid my shoes on. And the tiki shirt I was already wearing, it was unbuttoned, and I took it off when I got there. And I ran up to him. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I've never seen this before.
The detective senses something off about Lamb's statements. He knows he must clarify the scene in his mind, and to do so, he needs to delve deeper into the incident.
I'm not pointing the finger, but I'm trying to eliminate you, and every time I try and eliminate you, more stuff comes up.
How so?
Well, like I said, with the taking the shoes off type of thing, and
Yeah.
you know, no footprints in the blood, and then you
Are
know,
there shoe prints in the blood?
not that I saw,
Okay.
you know, that you had to put your shirt and shoes back on, then all of a sudden, well, it was just unbuttoned, and you didn't really have it off, and you know, you know, it's just more variations of things.
And I understand that. Like, I was pretty intoxicated at the time. And so, like, this is like, I'm like sobering up right now, and this is more and more like just coming to clarity too.
Okay.
Like, definitely. This is important. Call me dad. I mean, please just call me dad. He said, after we talked, he didn't.
Yeah, I said when it got a little later in the day, when possibly he's up, then we'll call. I don't want to jump to conclusions, and I don't want to, you know, keep wrongly accuse you of anything. But we're going to do our homework, and, you know, we're going to look at all those things and try and figure this stuff out, you know. And, you know, I don't know. You know, I mean, the stuff just isn't quite adding up. Okay.
The detective simply can't trust Lamb, but with an intoxicated suspect in front of him, all he can do is ask questions and receive ever-changing and vague answers. Moreover, while detectives can interrogate intoxicated individuals, their statements don't carry much weight in a court of law, making the situation even trickier.
You see why I'm struggling here? Every
No,
time
like, I had a really, like, heavy drinking night, and so, like, a lot of my clarity is now up.
Earlier, excuse me, I asked you about that. You said that, yes, you had been drinking, but you certainly recalled, you know, going home and seeing him there, so you know that you didn't do it?
Yeah.
You can say that for 100%?
100%. 100%. I love my Bubba so much. And I know we like bigger sometimes, like many doubles. No, this is so crazy. This is like beyond crazy right now.
Can you think of a time ever in the past where you guys have physically fought and somebody got hurt?
March or February, I think.
Okay. What was the circumstance then?
He was using pills, and I didn't know about it. Spartus. I stayed with him for the most part because I had moved out of my dad's to be with him.
Okay.
Again, and that's what it sparked it. And the neighbors had ended up calling because we were having a yelling match.
Okay. Did things get physical then?
A little bit. I mean, we push and shove, but we don't hit. So we never hit.
It's all over friends, you said?
No. That's all our friends.
Oh, it was so crazy.
Lamb and Nixon did have conflicts with each other. Although this might not be the perfect closure for the detective, it's the fastest progress he can make with Lamb. Uncovering past issues with lingering anger can also help in identifying motives, and that's exactly what's being done here.
Well, I've certainly seen it before where that level of passion can lead to, you know, high levels of jealousy and stuff too. Jealous? And what about Dave?
Just like he burned all my shit, cut my brakes on my car, stole my license plate, destroyed all my firefighting gear, destroyed all my lumberjack gear, like, he hacked into one of my phones, and posted all these pictures of me all over. And I spent like a year trying to get those things reversed and taken down. Like,
What did your sister have to say?
she's blowing me right now.
What did you tell her?
Like, because he asked Lynn if he being you if Ryan has a dog. I said no, because Moose is dead. And apparently she's watching his dog, which isn't even his. It lives in his dad's house. So it's a dog that he had, I guess, when he was little, but it stayed up in his dad's house for 8 years. And because that, like, that's your big one that you're like, oh, you're a liar. Like, I'm not a liar. Like, I was pretty drunk. This is like how I recall it. And
It's not about the dog, though.
I know, but that's like that started you off, and it was just like from that moment on, like it's just been like doubting everything about me. And just like,
Well, it's about David, you know, and I don't care if she's watching a fish or a rabbit or a giraffe. I could give a rat's
I understand
that.
that.
You know, it's the fact that you're pointing the finger towards David, and David's in Libby.
Okay.
It's now clear that Lamb harbored lingering anger toward Nixon, and the detective knows this could finally serve as a motive for murder. However, at this point, he has no evidence, but only the fact that Lamb's attempt to blame David was a lie. Trusting his instincts that Lamb was not being honest, the detective decides to return to the house in search of clues. Meanwhile, Lamb takes a nap to sober up. As the detective visits the house and speaks with a neighbor, he uncovers a crucial piece of information. The neighbor admits to hearing a conversation between Lamb and Nixon, completely shifting the direction of the case. The neighbor reports that Nixon and Lamb were arguing, with Nixon yelling, "You stabbed me in the chest," to which Lamb responded, "You stabbed me in the chest first with a fork." The detective finally confronts Lamb, and this is where it gets interesting.
So, yeah, so here's where we're at with this. I just talked with the county attorney's office, and based on the information I have, we're going to be charging you with deliberate homicide.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah. Yep.
Whoa. 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 No way.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So if there's anything that you're not telling me, now's a good time to be completely honest about it.
How would that make it better right now? Would it change that?
Well, again, you know, I've offered up several scenarios.
I understand. Like, is this something that I should talk to a lawyer about first? Or
That's completely up to you.
could I see a lawyer today, possibly?
Well, today's Sunday, so, you know, I mean, but, you know, I mean, if that's what you want, then we're done talking. I can't talk to you anymore.
Right.
So, but I need to hear from you unequivocally is the way the law speaks. You know, if you tell me I want an attorney, we're done. You know, if you're asking questions, should I have an attorney? I can't give you that advice. That's completely up to you.
May I call my dad?
You know, now's when we can talk, because you know what you're facing.
With that. Sorry.
And, you know, I mean, I can tell you, I have a lot of experience. I've been doing this job over 20 years, you know, and not much that you're going to tell me is going to shock me or scare me or make me think, you know, oh my God, you know.
Is there anything I could say now that would alter what I'm being charged with?
Yes, absolutely.
Like,
I can't give you ideas, you know, I mean, we've talked about different scenarios, you know. I mean, the truth is always a good option.
yeah, there's
You know, like I said, I know there's more that went on in this scenario. I mean, the neighbor lady confirmed that. Okay. So
But if I don't,
you know, and I have to be careful here because I don't want to start giving you leading questions, and then you say, "Yeah, Jim, that's it. That's what happened." You know.
So if Ryan like fell in the shower and hit his head, that would mean I'm still getting charged with preliminary homicide then?
No, not necessarily. I mean, that's an accidental. You know, I mean, if we go and do the autopsy and it shows that, you know, or aspirated, yeah,
Aspirated.
you know, I mean, we can confirm that hey, he'd been drinking a whole bunch and you know, but I gotta the hurdle I have is you know. I mean, if he's got an injury on the back of his head and he's got some slice marks on his arm here, and he's got a little poke hole here, I got to know how that happened so I can say, no, that wasn't, you know, this is how that happened. And then we go to the autopsy and it shows, yeah, that wasn't a life-threatening wound. That wouldn't have caused him to die. You know. But I got to put those pieces together, and the only way I can do that, Ryan, is with the truth. You know, you were the only one there. I wasn't there. I got to rely on physical evidence and people that I talked to, and you know.
Lamb takes a moment to assess what he's up against. He's been charged with murder, but he still tries to get away with it somehow. So far, his lies have been exposed, and the detective suspects that whatever he says next might also be just another attempt at deception. However, at this point, Lamb's fear is unmistakable. All that is needed now is a confession, and the detective is going to get that in the following minute.
I got carried away a couple times a while ago. We ended up really hurting each other. I mean, we were doing cigarette burns on each other, and he got way more carried away.
Okay.
I couldn't get my hands out, so that was kind of like stopped us for a while.
Okay.
It ended up hurting me a lot more than he had wanted. So that it's just, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the pokes were those little poke wounds. I don't think any of those are the ones that are like threatened.
So the scratches on his arms, there was like 2 or 3 scratches on his arm here. Was that from last night then or this morning?
Yeah.
Okay. And how did that happen?
He did those scratches. He was poking me with the fork. It was getting hotter and hotter. It got me really hard right there in the nipple.
Okay.
Like really, really hard.
Okay.
He was gonna. He wanted to use the scissors on me. And I was too scared. There were 3 pokes in them.
Okay.
And one on the nipple, the one startled me the most. I don't remember that one. Like, that on the nipple startled me most.
Why did it startle you?
Cause like the fork tip right on the nipple.
Okay.
So I'm not startled. That hurt. I mean, it hurt a lot more than what was happening.
Sure.
But that witness, that statement from that neighbor. It was consensual. It was a consensual thing we were doing.
Sure.
It was just taken to extremes when we're trying.
Okay.
I don't know if I poked him too hard and he hit his head, or if I poked him in the back of the head. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm trying to, based on that, just it's a deliberate homicide then?
I don't know. You know, I mean, so you said that he wanted to use the scissors on you, and you said no. So then you used them on him.
And let him use the fork on me. So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then you used the scissors on him. And where did you? You said that. Where did you poke him at with the scissors?
I think the first one was like right here. Going for a side cut.
Okay.
Just to see if it's not.
Yep.
And I think I got his belly fat right here.
Okay. Okay. So the deal on the back of the head, how do you think that happened?
I don't know if it's from him falling down and hitting the wall, like right there where when you walk into the kitchen.
Yep.
Like I'm really trying to.
No, I get it. So what kind of clothing were you guys wearing?
He has underwear on. I have basketball shorts.
Okay, the ones you got on now? Okay. So how did the blood get out by the front door? How did that happen?
He got up and was like looking for me.
Okay.
Because I didn't leave him. I didn't leave him in the shower. I didn't leave him anywhere near the bathroom. Like it was right there by the clothes, and it was just like so much blood, and then it started like getting really like just on the back of his head right there. But I thought he had like banged his head, or maybe I poked him in the neck or something.
Do you recall poking him in the neck?
No. That's like, no. He was already really drunk, so I don't know if he like, oh, it fell and hit his head.
Do you think maybe it could be an overdose situation? Because of the pills, or?
I don't think so.
I mean, certainly we'll do a toxicology.
I don't think so.
Okay.
So based on that, is that still deliberate homicide then?
So I'm going to have to call the county attorney and run those things by him and see what he has to say.
Lamb finally confesses, and the story starts to make sense to the detective. Now, the only thing left is to serve justice to the late victim, Ryan Nixon.
You probably should not be tricking me to get some information. Like, I really, this is such like an accident. It's gone like so bad.
Okay. Is there anything that you're leaving out that you haven't told me?
I don't think I was being entirely truthful at the beginning of this because I didn't want it to look like what are you charging me with? Like, deliberate. So I think I was panicking and like just so scared of that.
Yeah.
On December 11th, 2019, Lamb entered an Alford plea to negligent homicide, not admitting guilt, but acknowledging that the prosecution had enough evidence for a conviction. As part of the plea deal, the deliberate homicide charge was dropped. On February 12, 2020, he was sentenced to 10 years in Montana State Prison, with the request for a suspended sentence denied. What started as a romantic idea for the couple took a terrifying turn. Consumed by their built-up anger, the story ended in tragedy. Nixon lost his life, and Lamb landed behind bars.
You don't coke or anything to drink? No, so I'm afraid to go home.
This is 17-year-old Brandon Aydelott, a teenager whose crime shocked even the most seasoned detectives.
Santa Rosa 911, you need police?
Somebody's hurt really bad, though. I need somebody to get here as fast as they can get here, please.
Do you see any weapons there?
There's a knife. Look at her hand.
There's a knife in her hand?
Yes.
It was 7 p.m. on Christmas Eve of 2013 when Randall Aydelott had just arrived from a last-minute Christmas shopping spree. He was about to enter the living room when he discovered the body of his wife, 48-year-old Sharon Hill, lying in a pool of blood. His wife's face had been stabbed with several knives, leaving it unrecognizable. And the person who brought such an atrocity was someone unexpected.
Why are you here?
Because I killed Sharon Hill.
You killed it?
Sharon Hill.
It was
Mine.
Even detectives who were accustomed to the dark side of humanity were taken aback by Brandon's chilling confession. But detectives wondered why a calm and composed teenager would kill his mother with such inhumane brutality. Is this even an act of a sane mind? They were yet to find out whether he has a distorted psyche or this teenager is an embodiment of pure evil.
Alright, well, this is Detective Tool. She's one lead investigator in this. I'll let her start off and see where we need to go.
Alright, that's right. It's Brandon, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it okay if I call you that?
Yes, ma'am.
Brandon, we're here investigating a criminal investigation that you're involved in.
Yes, ma'am.
We'd like to talk to you a little bit. I'm not sure if you've talked to anyone else since they got you at your dad's house or not, but I'd like to talk to you a little bit if you don't mind.
Alright, yes, ma'am.
First of all, how are you doing?
Good.
Good?
Yeah.
Do you know why you're here?
No, ma'am.
No?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Why are you here?
Because I killed Sharon Hill.
You killed it?
Sharon Hill?
Sharon Hill?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is
My mother.
The detectives just brought him to the interrogation room and were sitting down, hoping to hear a lot from Brandon, who, without giving them any room to play around with questions, immediately owned up to his crime. And the reason behind his acts would be much more baffling than the detectives expected.
Yeah, tell what led up to it. What happened? She sent me to drug rehab when I had no drugs in my system. And she kept on getting mad at me every time I would tell her I didn't have any drugs in my system. And she just drove me to the brink where I said, I really don't have any drugs in my system. I just completely lost it one day.
What day was that?
Today.
Tell me what happened. I mean, tell me about your afternoon.
I woke up, hung out around the house. I went over there to have dinner, and she just looked at me like I was crazy. And I had enough of it, so I decided to kill her. You live with your dad, right? Yes, sir. Where does he live at? Behind Circle K. Is that where the police found you tonight? Yes, sir. You went over to your mom. Did y'all start arguing about the drugs again, or what happened? No, sir. I just went in there and I killed her.
Brandon's words revealed a deep-seated hatred toward his mother, and the roots of it started months ago. Sharon had caught Brandon using drugs like marijuana. As any concerned mother would, she was deeply worried about her son as he spiraled deeper into this destructive behavior of drug use. To stop him from going further down this path, she sent him to rehab, where he began to receive treatment and might have even recovered. However, his father, Randall, pulled him out of the facility. According to him, his son was completely fine and suffered no issues of possible drug abuse. It was then that Brandon began resenting his mother.
What did you kill her with? A knife and a baseball bat. Where'd you get the baseball bat? Out of my room. At your mom's house, your dad's house? My mom's. Where's the bat now? It's in my car. And the car was being selected? Yes, sir. How many times did you hit her with a bat? A lot. Where'd you get the knives from? The kitchen drawers. How many knives? A lot. Got any idea how many times you stabbed her? No, sir. Just stabbed her.
What made you go over there? I mean, did she call you and invite you over to come have dinner? Or?
I was invited earlier that day by my sister. But the sister wasn't home there, right? No, sir. She came over to my dad's house. Is that your biological sister? Stepsister? That's my biological sister. How old is she? 10.
Brandon's subtle smirk hinted at a chilling lack of remorse for his actions. What was truly incomprehensible, however, was the pride with which he recounted the brutal killing of his mother. This leaves us with a haunting question. How could a bright, promising teenager descend into such heinous acts? The answer would soon leave the detectives deeply disturbed.
You go to your mom's house, I mean, is this something that you sit down and hang out a while, or as soon as you get there? It just happened immediately when I got there.
What happened right when you pulled in?
I got out of my car, walked up to the door, knocked on it. She shut the door, and I stabbed her.
Did you go inside the house?
Yes, ma'am.
And then she shut the door?
Yes, ma'am. Take the bat out of the car when you got there? The bat was already in the room. Okay, then the room at your mom's house, not your dad. Yes, sir. Okay.
Did you say anything to her? I mean, did y'all talk at all before this happened?
No, ma'am.
Is that the only, I mean, what kind of issues have you and Mom had other than that?
That was the only one. Okay. After you stabbed her and left the house, where'd you go? Winn-Dixie. What's the difference, Dixie? I went out there for a little bit. Talked to anybody there? No, sir. And then I went back to the house, and the cops showed up, and then I went outside. Did you change clothes when you got home? Yes, sir. Where are the clothes at that you wear when you stabbed your mom? I threw them in the dirty clothes basket.
At your dad's house?
At my dad's house, yes.
When Sharon was busy preparing Christmas presents, she heard a knock at the door. She was expecting Brandon, who had been invited for the family Christmas dinner. Little did she know that the boy she gave birth to would become the reason for her own death. The moment Brandon stepped inside, he stabbed his mother in the back with a knife. As she collapsed, he slashed her throat and then went further by grabbing a baseball bat from inside the house. He struck her repeatedly with the bat before returning to the kitchen to collect more knives. This detail reflects the vicious nature of Brandon and his desensitized outlook towards violence. This was a behavior that stems from his substance abuse, which ironically was Sharon's greatest worries.
Did you take any of the knives with you when you left your mom? Yes, sir. I took only one. Where is it now? It's at my dad's house. Where at Dad? Behind all the other knives and spoons and everything and all in the tray. The kitchen drawer? Yes, sir.
Much to the detective's horror, Brandon's confession was, in fact, true, with Sharon's body being found with a knife barbarically left protruding from her right eye socket. During the autopsy, it was revealed that another small knife had been shoved into the same eye socket, deep enough to lodge inside her skull. As if that wasn't enough, Brandon stomped on her face multiple times, disfiguring her even further. The blood tainted all the presents that were carefully placed under the tree, leaving a grim reminder of the tragedy that had ensued. Doesn't this remind you of Art the Clown from Terrifier again? Only this time, the terror was not on a screen. It was all too real.
How do you feel about what happened?
Like I did the right thing.
Was
Yes, ma'am.
it? I mean, why do you think you did the right thing?
Because she was saying that I was smoking when I wasn't. Have you talked to anybody else about this? You called a friend? Anybody? I mean, my dad was involved. How was that? It didn't go well. My aunt was involved. My aunt's friend was involved. My sister was even involved.
Involved in what?
Like, whenever I had to take a drug test and, I passed it and then I went to the real one. No, I mean, I failed the first one. Then I went to the real one and I passed it and they still checked me into a drug rehab facility. Okay. And you're saying your aunt, your sister, and your dad were involved in checking you into that facility? That was all my mom's idea. When you got back to your dad's house, did you take a shower? Yes, sir, I did. What do you think should happen now? I think that Helena Rivera should be kicked off the throne.
Who's that?
This girl that's in charge of smoking. She's Native American.
She's in charge of all of them?
Yeah.
Like in the whole world, or?
Yeah. She don't even smoke.
Detectives struggled to determine whether Brandon was purely evil or deeply unstable mentally. The disturbing details he shared and his unnervingly calm demeanor raised serious concerns regarding his state of being. Witnessing a son kill his mother with such extreme violence and justify it as being right was utterly shocking. At this point, detectives began to seriously consider the possibility that Brandon's actions might have stemmed from a disturbed, psychotic mindset.
You don't coke or anything to drink? No, sir, I'm afraid to go home. Alright, give us just a few minutes and we'll try to get you out here, okay? Alright?
And those were Brandon's last words, which are as eerie as they are unsettling. What could a teenager like him have actually been doing? Well, the answer was found much later. A social worker had visited Brandon in jail, to whom he spoke of someone named Braxton Strange, a figure he described as the ruler of Navarro. According to Brandon, Braxton was not just a person, he was a god. And this god had given Brandon a mission to fulfill a prophecy. This so-called prophecy was the reason Brandon claimed he killed his mother. In his mind, the act would immortalize her, allowing her to spend eternity with her ex-husband, Randall. But the prophecy didn't end there. Randall was meant to be the next victim on Brandon's list. When the police followed up on his story and searched for the so-called ruler of Navarro, Braxton Strange, they found nothing. No one by that name. No mysterious figure pulling the strings. Just another twisted fantasy. This delusion was later debunked by psychiatrists who were in charge of treating Brandon. They confirmed that he was suffering from schizophrenia, a disorder that likely fueled his disturbing beliefs and actions. In 2016, Brandon Aydelott was tried in a one-day bench trial before Circuit Judge John F. Simon. Psychiatrist Dr. Robert Scott Benson testified that Brandon's schizophrenia led him to believe he was justified in killing his mother. The defense argued that Brandon was not guilty by reason of insanity, or NGRI, as his mental illness prevented him from understanding the wrongfulness of his actions. In a recent court ruling on August 15, 2024, Pam Hill, Sharon's sister, testified something profound that explains the impact Brandon Aydelott had on the family after he committed the crime.
My sister, and so I went to the state attorney's office and talked to them, and I love him, that boy, and I looked at it as my nephew. A lot of this sounds, in theory, like we have a plan. He killed my sister when his life was charmed. What do you talk about to the person that killed your sister? He is dangerous, and he has told me he's not through killing my family. It took 3 years to establish competency, which my understanding is that's a very low bar. He had mentioned people with brown eyes weren't on his side, only blue-eyed people were. And I asked him, I said, well, I've got a brown eye and a green eye, Brandon. And he said, well, I just don't know what I'd do with you. It's no secret, I've never wanted him to get out of the incarceration or the admission. I realize he's a patient at Florida State Hospital. I never wanted him out.
Brandon was confirmed to be held in the Santa Rosa County Jail. The court ruled that he would be transferred back to Florida State Hospital, where he will remain in the custody and care of the Department of Children and Families until a bed becomes available for him at the Appalachia Center. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And for more such disturbing cases, follow our channel.
You're guilty of something.
I'm not. I didn't kill my wife.
And nobody's accused you of killing your wife. That's the first time that word has even come out in this entire conversation, is that?
No, you said that you killed your wife.
I didn't. I never asked you that.
It was at this moment 73-year-old Philip Snyder realized his devious plan was over. The man had just murdered his wife, Roberta, and thought he could get away with it by spewing some bizarre stories. On January 4th, 2018, Philip Snyder informed his in-laws that he was taking Roberta on a trip to Memphis. Roberta, who was ill and wished to visit the place one last time, had accompanied him, or so he claimed. Upon Philip's return home alone, controversy ensued. He explained that Roberta had passed away during the trip, prompting relatives to become suspicious. On January 10th, 2018, they alerted the police to investigate Philip's story.
Hey, Phil. Are you Phil?
Yeah.
You mind if I step in for a second?
Sure, good morning.
How you doing?
Doing good.
Good. Hey, we had some calls from family members, and they just wanted us to come out and check and make sure you're okay on you and your wife. You guys okay?
I'm okay, yes.
Okay.
My wife passed away.
Okay, when did that happen?
The 6th.
The 6th of January?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right away, alarm bells went off in the detectives' minds. Philip showed no signs of a man grieving the loss of his wife of over 50 years, but it was what he said next that would turn their confusion into outright suspicion.
So when they transported, did you speak with the coroner or?
No.
No?
No.
Well, so what happened? So where's your wife now? What happened to her?
They took her to a place where they cremate people.
Okay, and you don't know where that is either?
No. They said I didn't need to stay. If I wanted to, I could just go ahead and go home.
Okay. So what are they going to do with the cremation?
She didn't want no ashes kept back.
No loving husband could possibly be unaware of what happened to his deceased wife. It was unthinkable that someone would abandon the body of a loved one without knowing its whereabouts.
See, the Kentucky River or the Tennessee River was on the way home. I put her in. I was just barely able to lift her up and throw her over the edge. And I put her in the river.
Philip's story shifted dramatically from claiming his wife was taken away in an ambulance for cremation to admitting he had thrown her body into a river. But this raised an even bigger question. If Roberta had truly died of natural causes, why would he lie in the first place?
And the current took it away.
So why did you throw her in the river?
I didn't want her to be cremated. I wanted her to be with nature. And I wanted her to be safe with nature. And I figured if she went downstream, no one would ever be able to find her. Do you want to take me to jail?
I want to take you to jail. No.
Surely Mr. Nature Lover wasn't headed straight to jail just yet. There were still critical steps before that, starting with a thorough house search and a grueling interrogation. The search proved to be a game changer when a sniffing dog uncovered something in a box in the basement. A bloody, torn piece of cloth that belonged to Roberta. By then, Philip knew dark days were ahead. In a desperate move, he left a letter for his son, Kenny, insisting he hadn't harmed Roberta before attempting to take his own life, but failing to do so. And once again, the detectives found him, ensuring he's still far away from escaping the hands of justice.
So, why did you cut it for sure?
I didn't. Where was this at?
So, why'd you cut it for sure?
I didn't. Where's that at?
In your basement.
No, that's something that she's done. No. I didn't do that.
Even now, Philip refuses to accept the evidence against him. This time, he takes it a step further by dragging his own son into the mix as he spins yet another version of events.
Here's the thing that really bothers me the most. If you are innocent, you want the truth to be out there, the whole truth. But we have indisputable evidence that you're not being truthful. So why don't you just explain to me so I don't have to go and tell the grand jury what I think happened? So we can know exactly what happened. Kenny deserves to know where his mom is. I've told you before, and I'm telling you again, I will drive you there. We will go and get her. Don't let the final chapter of this story be written by law enforcement. Explain why you panicked, what you did, how you did it, where you did it, and let us all move on.
I don't want to continue this.
But what to say is just the truth. Did she die at home, and you took her to Memphis anyway? I mean, I understand that if that's what you did, but I know she wasn't riding in your truck. We got indisputable evidence that she was not in your truck, at least not in the front. Okay, so if she was in the back, what difference does it make if she was in the back between Columbus and Cincinnati, or if she was in the back when you left your garage? What difference does it make? Other than it's true.
Have Kenny come in, please.
Bye, dude.
They think she died at home.
Oh, did she?
Yes. I took her to, she wanted to go one more time to,
I asked you this last night.
I know.
So, okay, now, tell us about what happened. You asked for Kenny to come here, and we don't have a problem with that. We just made a nice little breakthrough, but I'm still telling you, you got to explain the whole thing.
She coughed phlegm, a large amount of phlegm, and she passed away. And her tongue was like swollen, and I panicked. And I don't know why I took the heart.
Okay, but hold on a second. When did she pass away? You drove to Memphis on the 4th, right? When did she pass away?
I know, probably, I guess on the 4th.
When did you cut her shirt off of?
I don't remember doing that.
You were just going to tell him you cut it off. And I interrupted you, and I'm sorry.
Mom's shirt. I don't remember doing it. I was in shock. I don't know.
Phil.
I don't know.
At this point, Philip's statements are all over the place. Even his son, Kenny, has begun to realize that his father has done something terrible. But now, it's time to listen to Philip's final story. It, once again, is going to take an insane turn.
She coughed up a big chunk of phlegm.
When?
At home.
When?
Did it happen on Wednesday night, or did it happen Thursday morning?
Thursday, I think.
Phil,
Thursday morning.
Phil, let me tell you something.
I don't know for sure. It's been, how long ago?
It's been a while.
Anyway, but I don't remember cutting the shirt.
How did you get her out of the house?
I carried her out of the house.
Over your shoulder?
Yeah.
Drag her?
No.
Was she wrapped in plastic?
Yes.
So this 2 garbage bag story?
It was at home. I didn't want her to urinate all over everything, if there was any. Because I heard that if a person dies, they'll start to urinate. And I didn't want that to happen, so I put a bag on around her bottom.
You didn't use the plastic that you were laying on? No. That same kind of plastic?
No. I didn't harm my wife.
Well, you said that a bunch of times. You said that in a note, didn't you? Did you leave a note for Kenny? Why?
I wanted him to know I didn't harm his mom.
Okay. But honestly, do you think he knows that now?
I hope he does.
But how does anybody know anything if you are still being deceptive?
The case was far from over, as there simply wasn't enough direct evidence to arrest Philip. Reluctantly, they had to let him go. However, the the detectives weren't giving up. They meticulously devised a plan that would soon crack the case wide open. The detectives enlisted the help of retired undercover agent Joan Bauer for the job. For the next 3 months, she was assigned the task of uncovering the truth behind Philip's story.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, last week? Yeah. Huh? Different restaurant. Yeah, I can't go to the same one every day.
However, that wasn't how it all began. Joan adopted the alias Missy for the job. Week after week, she visited Philip's regular hangout spots, mainly the fast food restaurants around town. It took some time, but Missy gradually became a familiar face to Philip, and even before Missy had a chance to get close to Philip, she stumbled upon a crucial piece of information from one of his friends.
She said you could sit with her.
No, really, you can sit with me. No, please do.
We have assigned seats here.
You do, don't you? I don't. There wasn't a tag on mine when I got here. I'm new to the group. I needed a tag. Hi, I'm Missy. I'm Fran. It's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. You smell good.
Oh, do I?
Yeah.
I can't even smell it.
Well, you smell good.
Oscar.
Is it? Oh, it smells good.
You guys warm.
Yeah, have a good one.
You too.
Don't get friendly with him.
Oh, really? With that guy there?
He's the one that likes me.
Somebody was telling me about that.
Yes. Yeah. They can't find the body, so they can't charge him.
Do you think he did it?
He said he did, and then he's not well in the head.
Missy, as we're calling her going forward, knew it was time to step up her game in order to get a confession from Philip. She took a chance by starting to go on walks with him. During their conversations, she fabricated a story about her mother being sick and how she was exhausted from caring for her. This narrative oddly aligned with Philip's own story about Roberta, and before long, they formed an unexpected connection. And soon enough, they finally met up to discuss the matter.
Well, what I'm concerned about, I don't want a police car coming to your mom's house.
Oh, yeah.
And since you and I text each other,
You think they?
well, say they take her confiscate my phone.
Yeah.
They're gonna say, who is Melissa Schiffer?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but they could grill me all day. I told you. I'm tight-lipped.
So I told this lady, I said, all she can tell them is that
I wouldn't tell them anything.
my wife passed away.
I wouldn't tell them anything. I'd just say I'd talk to you sometimes at Hartford. I'd go to Hartford, drink coffee. I wouldn't even tell them that. That's the thing, like at Burger King, they don't know what you tell. People don't know what you tell me. Like at Burger King, like Fran, like all I know is that she goes and works out. People don't tell me anything. So if somebody were to come talk to me and say, what did he tell you? I would go, we talk about the weather and it's snowing and coffee. And every now and then he goes, how's your mom doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, I am one tight-lipped. Yeah, I'm not worried about that one bit. Not one bit. And I told you before, I've been challenged that way with my girlfriend.
Have you?
About 25 years ago, yeah.
With the police?
Uh-huh. Yep.
And you didn't tell them nothing?
Of course I didn't tell him anything. Why would I tell him anything? She's my friend. I don't want to see her in jail.
Missy's responses are perfect. She knows exactly how to reply in a way that would put Philip at ease. On top of that, when Philip hears that Missy has been helpful to a friend during a police intervention, he starts to feel even more comfortable with her. Now the question remains, how much will Philip start to share?
Did you do it well?
No.
Me. See, that's why you're probably stressing, because it's a maybe. Because if it were a yes, there's no way they're going to find it. Then you would probably be a lot more comfortable.
There's no way I can know.
Why?
There just isn't any way I can know. I could give you a scenario.
Yes, give me a scenario. Right, and that's just, yeah, I'm with you.
Don't forget about the Tennessee River.
Okay.
I can give you a scenario.
Okay.
I asked a guy who picks up dumpsters behind, like Wendy's, Burger King.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that trash?
Yeah.
He said, take it to the dump. Yeah. I said, what do you do with the neighborhood trash? He says, I take it and they sort through it.
You mean like the neighborhood trash that you put up by the road? Yeah. You never. I'm not real smart. So, you put her in the dumpster.
That's a scenario.
I know, but okay. Oh, then she's buried 10 feet deep in garbage now. They won't find her. Been packaged. There's no way.
It's just a scenario.
I know. So just a scenario.
Repeatedly calling his story a scenario isn't doing Philip any favors, though it's clearly his way of trying to play it safe. But let's see just how detailed this so-called scenario becomes.
How long did it take for a body to decompose?
A year.
Does it really take that long?
Be bones.
But what about if you were in garbage? I would think that would speed it up.
I don't know. But she might not be in garbage. She might be in Tennessee.
What is it in hospital or something? Yeah.
No, come on. Okay. You love to tease with me, don't you? Okay. Let's talk about the maybe. We're just scenario. It's just a scenario. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of dump? Did they say what kind of dump that the big ones go to?
Oh, it's huge.
It is. Like, how many people put it? Like ton? Like it's a big one, or is it like
It's huge.
Okay. Do they dump this? Well, you don't know. Do you know anything about the dump?
What that truck does, it compacts.
Mm-hmm.
The truck that picks up here from Wendy's,
Yeah.
Burger King, and over here at the that gas station,
Yeah.
that dumpster over there.
Yeah.
That it goes in and it
Compact. Right. Oh.
and he takes it to the dump and he pushes it out.
Okay. And then it pushes it out, and then they push out on top of it, or do they push out around it?
Well, then there's a big truck that dumps dirt
over top. You're
and
good.
There's pipes that come up to vent the methane.
So that it'll like disintegrate. Right. This is just this. Yes. So, what do the pipes do?
Vents the methane.
Yeah. So it's been scenario-wise. It's been 3 months. So 3 months of, although it's been cold, not hot. It'll help when it's hot. Don't you think?
I don't know. It's a scenario.
Right. I know. See, now you got me intrigued.
The scenario continues, but unfortunately, Missy's wired camera loses charge midway. However, the audio keeps recording, and it's about to reveal something truly disturbing.
Okay, I got another bizarre idea.
I like bizarre ideas.
Okay. And the reason I said over here is because anybody over here.
Okay. It's that bizarre. I love that bizarre.
Jesus. I was in the carpenter's union.
Okay.
I put my wife on as my beneficiary.
For life insurance.
For half of my pension.
Okay.
It'll be close to $900 a month.
Ooh.
If I die,
yeah,
no one gets nothing. Okay.
Right.
They don't even know that my wife, because there's no death certificate.
Okay. Fine.
Say there's a marriage of convenience.
Then somebody gets
$900 a month.
Interesting. Bizarre.
It's just an idea.
That is an idea. Bizarre, but I like bizarre. I have to think about that.
You don't even need to get frisky.
Good, because I'm not frisky kind of person. Okay. Let's play cards. Let's play cards. And let me think about that. That's very interesting.
And my son Kenny doesn't even need to know.
Because he doesn't even know that you have. So if she would have died, if you would have died before her, she would have gotten all that?
$900 a month.
Oh, wow. Here. Did she know that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
It's like 860 collection.
Yeah. That's a lot of money.
Now, here's a reason behind his actions. Along with the difficulty of caring for Roberta's illness, money played a major role, which made the situation even more disturbing. With this revelation, there are now two clear motives behind Philip's crime. And finally, it's time to know what exactly happened that day.
You're going to tell me, though, how it happened, aren't you? I'm done. I think, wait. Yeah, I'm done. You're going to tell me how it happened?
After I get to Cincinnati, I'll tell you how it happened.
No. Good try.
I'm done.
I think you should just tell me so we can get past that, so I can quit wondering. To tell you the truth. Because I'm wondering. And like I said, I don't even care, which is crazy about it. I don't even care if you cut her up, put her in a blender, and drank her for breakfast.
No,
well, I know you didn't do that. I know. So, but it's sort of like, I'm like, okay, I'll be laying there like, okay, did he use it right? Did he, like, how?
No.
I know, but I want to know. And it's like, why? I don't know why. I just do.
Say she wasn't breathing. This is a scenario.
What?
And I'll put you get a plastic bag from some grocery stores don't have paper, they give you a plastic bag.
Like Giant Eagle, the blue ones?
Yeah. Or, yeah.
Like that thin? No, that's pretty thin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say her tongue was stuck. If you put a bag, say this is just a scenario.
Right.
Over her face.
Yeah.
And tied it around her neck.
Right.
It's just a scenario.
Right.
She wasn't breathing anyway, possibly. But I didn't try to help her because she didn't want me to.
Right. So, but aren't those too thin? You know?
No.
But okay, so how long does it take? Does it take a while? And if I did that to would that be better to do it like that to my mom or with the pillow? If I were to do that.
If you were to do that.
Yeah. Do the pillow.
But say you have to tie the bag around her neck.
Yeah.
And it might be a month on her neck. Just a scenario.
Right.
Just a possibility.
Right. However, though, I think you're close enough to me to know that you know what I'm going to say, don't you?
No, I don't.
What do you think I'm going to say? You know me. What do you think I'm going to say?
That you're going to ask me how I did it again.
Well, I know how you did it.
How did I do it?
You, while she was asleep on the couch, you put a plastic bag over her head, which is and tied it up. She was on the plastic. But how'd you get her on the plastic?
She fell there on her own.
But I don't buy that.
Okay. Okay.
You know why? Because I can see it in your eyes.
Okay.
And I just want you to tell me, but I do find it very intriguing.
What, me?
Yeah.
Or the story?
Both. Because I told you yesterday, and I get it. Like, I get the fed up. I get it. Are you done?
Being numb.
Yeah.
Being numb.
Yeah. And all this happening, and you probably afterwards stood back and was like, what just happened? I'm guessing, I don't know. Tell me, does it feel like that?
Kind of does. Kind of.
Did you feel relief? Because I think that's how I would feel.
I didn't feel relief until I was on the road and in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Then I felt relief.
Then, well, you probably didn't feel relief till you're on your way back.
No, I was on my way down.
Even with her in there, you felt relief?
You should have done that.
Oh, I should have. But I'm glad you didn't show me, because I'm going to win fair and square.
Okay. I'm done.
Okay.
All the pieces of the puzzle had finally fallen into place. Missy had done her job perfectly, and Philip was none the wiser. When she left, he might have believed he had impressed a woman at his age, basking in his own twisted sense of charm. But his moment of triumph was short-lived, as soon after the officers arrived to greet him.
Yes.
She's right there.
She's right there? You sure? No, I heard it.
How are you? Coming up on Hunky Dory. Peachy King.
Peachy King. Right here.
I was talking for a while. See anything you want. Is it okay?
Everything seems good.
You want to talk to me?
No.
No?
I'll talk to you as a friend.
Well, the bad news is I got to run for your arrest.
Okay.
So you got to
Step
up.
Can I park my truck at my apartment?
No, step up.
You're kidding.
Step up.
You're kidding.
Step up. Now, do me a favor. Let's get right over here. We're going to pat you down. Hands up against this.
73-year-old Philip Snyder was taken to jail on April 18, 2018, where he made one last attempt to reach out for help. He dialed his friend Missy's number, only to be met with silence. The lying monster still had no idea he'd been deceived. Soon after, he faced trial, and on August 27, 2018, he pleaded guilty.
To the charge of aggravated murder, how do you plead?
Guilty. I put her in the Tennessee River. That's where I put her.
All right, so you're telling me you put your wife in the Tennessee River?
Yes, sir.
As part of a plea agreement, he was required to reveal the location of 69-year-old Roberta Snyder's body. In exchange, prosecutors agreed to recommend a sentence of 20 years to life in prison, finally bringing this case to a close. So what are your thoughts on this case? What do you think truly drove Philip to take the life of his beloved wife? Given that he'd be in his 90s after 20 years, do you believe the sentence was justified? Feel free to share your opinions. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any cases you want us to cover, please share your suggestions in the comments section. Also, like, share, and subscribe to our channel to uncover more cases like this from around the world. Until then, stay safe.